Hello and welcome back to another episode of my MotoGP 23 career mode, and today we're here for the 5th round of our Moto2 season for the French Grand Prix at Le Mans. Now, if you didn't see the last episode at the Spanish Grand Prix, I do recommend you go check that one out before we do get into this one. Obviously, a very unfortunate race for us. We had some good pace, we were fighting with the leaders at the front, and unfortunately Albert Arenas completely knocked us off, sent us to the back of the field because our bike went through the map. We tried to recover, but I'm pretty sure we finished last but one, because ultimately the AI's pace dropped significantly on the dying laps, and my pace just was terrible on the last lap. It really was bad. So it allowed the AI to gain quite a lot of points on me, which isn't ideal, and leaves us 10th place in the Riders' Championship. But I think we're just still within a race win, or just over a race win away from Arbolino, so it's not all over yet. And we do need to strike back at this French Grand Prix. We also have a new turning point as well. If we go into this menu here, against Manu Gonzalez, you can see we do need to beat him across the next 3 GPs. Well, we need to beat him in the standings, so obviously that is another target to aim for. But it does seem like this weekend the AI are pretty quick, so I'm going to be doing the full practice qualifying sessions to actually start high up on the grid. So without any further ado, I'll head into the race weekend, and I'll see you after practice. So at the end of practice, we are 15th. Unfortunately, we are just one spot outside of where we needed to be. The AI do seem very fast, actually. I did a test race and they were in the 35s, aside from like the fastest AI was in the 34s, but it seems like 34s are pretty much expected to be competitive. And this is a cloudy condition session as well, so there's more time on the table. But unfortunately, we're actually going to have to go through Q1. I ended the session, I was at P4, because the AI have improved. It wasn't by a ridiculous amount either, so I'm not going to sit there and complain. Like, they could relatively have improved by this much over the session. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame, to be honest, that we've dropped down into P15. If it was just one more spot, we'd have been through to qualifying 2, but unfortunately it is going to be Q1 for us. So without any further ado, let's get into qualifying and hopefully we can get out of Q1. So here we are then in qualifying 1, and you can see our rival Manuel Gonzalez is in this session, so we are probably where we should be, I guess, according to the game. We'll stick a soft tyre on the rear, medium on the front. Try not to use too many mediums up because, of course, we do need to save one for the race. So we've only really got 2 to play with, so we can only really use 1 in this session unless we are really struggling, and then I guess we can get a fresh one out. But the pace seems pretty good. I need to find a little bit of time. Unfortunately, it's still cloudy, so I think the AI do have an advantage when it's cloudy because I think their grip basically isn't decreased that much, whereas the player's grip is decreased by quite a lot. We're not massively slow. We were still only a few tenths off the top time, so if we can put a good lap time here in the session, I think we're okay, because the simulated times don't seem ridiculous either, so you don't need to clear them by as much as we'd have to at a lot of other tracks. Here it seems quite fair and pretty close to what they can actually do. So here we are then, up towards the line. What are we going to do on this first lap? A 35.1. So that's a few tenths off the Zany even, so that's not what we need. We need a bit more time than that, unfortunately. So this lap has been a decent amount better, in fact half a second underneath. And unfortunately, that's still not top. Are you joking me? Well, it would have been good enough to get us straight through into Q2, which is a bit more annoying, to be quite honest. But we're still 15 thousandths off of... Actually, it's Gonzalez. I thought it was still Nozani at the top, so actually it annoys me slightly less. But there we go then. I hope that's enough to get me through, because I'm less than 10th in front of Joe Roberts, someone who, like I said in the last episode, we've destroyed pretty much the entire season. So it will be interesting to see if we're actually able to get through with that time. I hope we can, but maybe not. And I don't see a lot more on the table either if we don't, so that'll be quite worrying. Well, it was certainly a close qualifying session, but we did manage to get through just by the skin of our teeth. Actually, 2 Brits getting through this session as well, as Rory Skinner comes through in 4th position. But that does fill me with confidence, because the AI don't tend to go much faster in Q2 than they do in Q1. For some reason, that just is how it works. So hopefully we can actually take this pace through and get a good qualifying position. But Manu Gonzalez, the guy that we need to beat, has also gone through this session, so it does actually give us a little bit of a target there. I think he probably has been improved. I genuinely think it does improve your rival when it assigns them to you, so it'll be interesting to see what his race performances are like from now on. But yeah, we may as well get straight into qualified 2 now then, and hopefully we can qualify well. So I'm not really looking to get pole position or anything. I don't see that happening because I think the AI will have a couple more attempts in hand. I was surprised by the lap time I was able to put together in Q1, so it does show that there's probably more time on the table. And to be fair, I've only done a few laps, and again, as always with these career mode episodes, I basically just jump on the game, do a couple of laps in a race just to get a rough idea of how fast the AI are. You know, if they're like several seconds quicker than me, obviously I'll turn the difficulty down for the career mode. In the past, I never really used to do that, but obviously this year, because the AI actually are quite fast at some of the tracks, I do have to change it a little bit so that it's not completely ridiculous. But yeah, I basically do a couple of laps there, jump straight to practice, do a few laps that I think will get me through to qualifying 2, because generally I try to avoid doing qualifying 1, and then that's pretty much it. So I suppose I'm just going to keep getting quicker, because as I get more in groove with the track, I'll get quicker. I think it usually takes me about 10 laps, really, to get up to pace, so probably towards the end of this session, I'll probably be pretty much on my, not 100% optimal pace, obviously there's always more time, but my general ability in the game will be probably about the right speed on the track. But I do worry a little bit about the race, because I think it could play out like Jerez, not necessarily with the crashing, but with the fuel load, because the fuel mixture makes a big difference. I think Rory Skinner might blast me on the straight here. I could be wrong, but if we see him come flying past, here he comes. He started to level me and then he rolled out, but there's a massive difference between Power Mode 3 and Power Mode 2 and 1. I know I'm using 1 right now, but even 2, the AI are blasting me on the straights in qualifying. So if I have to, there you go, if I have to turn down the Power Mode to save fuel in the race, I'm going to be in big trouble, because it's probably over a second a lap again, just like it was in Jerez. It is occurring to me now, though, it was probably a mistake to let Skinner through, because he's just going to get in my way, most likely. Here we are, then. Let's see what we can do in this first lap. Hopefully, Skinner doesn't hold me up. He might be a bit of a reference, but I think he's a bit too close for that, to be honest. So towards the line, then. What is this first time going to be? A 34.8. Pretty good out of the box, to be honest. Half a second quicker than Skinner. Although, that's probably because, literally, I rammed Skinner out the way at the first corner. It wasn't intentional. I was trying to go for a close pass on him, because I didn't want to obviously get off the racing line and lose time. I ended up basically just careering into him and punting him out the way. But Aldeguer immediately displaces me by a couple of tenths of a second. But we have got a few tenths back to Jake Dixon behind, so that is quite promising. Although, again, I think there is more time. Still a couple more attempts like I did in Q1. And Skinner, all of a sudden, is actually on the back of me, and I'm getting in his way. So up towards the line, then. This lap has been a few tenths quicker. And that puts us P6 on the grid, just under 4 tenths off of the top time. And to be honest, I think that's as good as it's going to get, because that's a 34.4. So a couple of tenths quicker than we went in Q1. And honestly, I don't think I've got much more than that. So if we drop down the order, then at least I tried my best. 34.0 now, top time for Salach, which is ridiculous. I was joking about them doing 33s, but I think they genuinely will do 33s now. Well, not only did the AI do 33s, they did mid-33s, which means I think I'm going to be last in this session if I scroll down to see where I am. No, I'm not last, actually. I am ahead of Skinner and Zonta. Not ideal, considering we worked so hard to get through to qualified 2, but like I said, there was nothing more I could do. Maybe it was a mistake going. I went into the pits and fast-forwarded. Maybe I should have ended. I still can't remember which way is the best way to do it. But even still, we've got a bit of a task ahead of us now. But Chantra on pole position. Probably quite ideal for us, because it's someone that's not Arbolino or Acosta, quite frankly, so that does help out. Arenas still in 4th place, so Arenas really getting good results this season for some reason. I did hear, actually, that in career mode, the AI performance is much more based on the team than it is anything else, so that could be why. I think the teams add, like, multipliers, although Sam Lowe's isn't particularly doing great, although he did win that race at Portimao, so yeah, I'm not 100% sure how it works, but yeah, 16th place, was it 16th place on the grid? Yeah, 16th place on the grid. We've got a lot of work ahead of us, so without any further ado, let's head into the race and see how high up the order we can get. So we're down here then on the grid at the French Grand Prix, looking at Pedro Acosta in 2nd position, and for once it is actually sunny, so that might help us out. I think we might actually have a little bit more pace. Although the problem is, I haven't really done any laps in the sunshine, so I don't know exactly tyre heating, like how it's going to go. Gavin Emmett has said that everyone's going for the soft tyres. Obviously, on the front, I'm absolutely not doing that. Let's go for a medium, because the soft front is a pointless choice in this game, effectively, because it just doesn't work. The rear, I'm being recommended a soft, but you can see I've taken a lot out of it in just qualifying runs. In fact, it's very consistent, the amount of tyre wear on each one. And that's, what, 2 or 3 laps? And the race is probably getting on for 11 laps or so. So I think the hard tyre is going to be the correct choice for me. That may be something I come to regret, but I just don't think the soft's going to last. So I think I'd feel a bit more foolish if, for some reason, I picked the soft tyre and then it went off. I'd be like, oh, why did I do that when clearly the medium was the way to go? If I actually look at the fuel, it should tell me how many laps of fuel there is. So 30 laps of the race. So yeah, I did like 3 laps of qualifying and the tyre was that worn. So yeah, hard tyre, even the hard tyre might be a little bit worn by the end of the race. But we may as well get this race started then and see what we can do, because it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough from this far back. And even if we get our way up to the front, I'm sure we're going to have some difficulty with the AI probably trying to ram us out of the way, or, you know, other things. So yeah, it's going to be, I think it's going to be quite a good one. So without any further ado, let's get this race started.
It's the French Grand Prix and all the riders are lined up on the grid. In a few moments, the lights will go out and the Le Mans race will begin.
Come on, Chantra. I'm really rooting for him. I need him to try and win the race and take some points away from Arbolino and Acosta. But here we are then. The lights are on here at the French Grand Prix, waiting for them to go out. They're holding for quite a while. Lights out and away we go. A pretty decent initial launch, although we've been jumped by Rory Skinner as we go towards the turn 1. Some of the AI going a bit slow. In fact, a few AI here on the outside go really slow. Manu Gonzalez, I think, being one of them. So we try and go around the outside through turn 1 of quite a few riders. On the inside of Jake Dixon now. We're going to have to sit Dixon up a little bit of contact. The front went then. I could feel it through the controller that the front end did go. But we've got up into P7. Can we get Jake Dixon down the hill? Yes, we can. So we're up into P6. It's been a great start, as you've come to expect, because the AI on this game just do not get off the line for whatever reason. So we're up into P6 then, almost undone the damage of that qualifying, because really I was P6 when I ended the session, so it's kind of where I expected to be, maybe a couple of places lower. I still expected to be in the top 10, quite frankly, but unfortunately that's not how it played out. And again, we're using a lot of Power Mode 3 in the early stages to try and make up the positions, but you need to use it, because even when, you know, you're not using it, the AI are just pulling away, so it's something I do need to do. And we overtake Aranas. We kind of rub Canet a little bit through Garage Van. Can we try and get the slipstream on Aaron Canet to get up into that P4 position? You can see we're 1.1 laps underneath already, so we've got to be careful on the fuel. But at least we go of Aaron Canet up into P4. So we're up here now with Acosta and Arbolino. The power's kind of in our hands. Chantra continues to lead, which really does help me out. I think I know my strategy for this race. It's to overtake these 3 as soon as possible, because I don't think there's as many long corners that they could just ram me out the way of like there was at Jerez, and try and make a gap. I think that's what we've got to do. If we're weak at the end of the race, they'll come back, but I can't be stuck in the pack. This is what's going to sort of hold me up. And if you remember back to the races that we have won, well, the race that we did win, it was from pulling away at the front. And here we go, we're going to pass Pedro Acosta, but at the same time, Arbolino overtakes Chantra. So as we start lap 2, we're up onto the podium, and Arbolino takes the lead. The championship leader takes the lead of the race. We can't be having that one at all, so we need to try and pass Somkiat as quickly as possible. But the run out the last corner there for Arbolino was really good. The run out the last corner for Acosta was really bad. And here we go, we're going to pass Chantra down the hill into, I can't remember the name of it, La Chapelle, that's it. I can't believe I forgot the name of La Chapelle, one of the most famous corners at Le Mans, but it just completely escaped my mind for a second. But either way, we're up into P2 then. Tony Arbolino leads the way, and now we are in the prime position behind Tony. We need to use a lot of this Power Mode 3. To be fair, it has recovered. It is now only minus 0.2 at this point around the lap, so I think we're probably going to be okay. I think Jerez may have been an anomaly in terms of the amount of fuel consumption there was. I think this one, with a little bit of management, should be fine. Maybe I drained the tank or something at Jerez, I can't really remember. But out of Garage there, with that Power Mode 3, we've got the advantage on Tony Arbolino. We go flying past him and into the chicane. We should have it pretty much done, because the AI are pretty bad on the brakes. And there we go, 16th to first position in the space of a couple of laps. Same AI difficulty and everything, nothing changed at all. It's just the way these races play out. The AI are using probably Power Mode 1 at the start of the race, and I need to take advantage of that, because if I just stick in the pack, I won't really gain anything on them, and when we all use 3 at the end, I won't be able to make the difference. So it's better to be out of sync with them, get the positions early, and try and make the break. And this is my goal. I've picked up another track limits warning, so I do apologise, guys. I've been so dirty about it too with the track limits warnings. But here we go, Arbolino once again getting the good run out the last corner. He's going to do what he did to Chantra. He hits into me even as we go through turn 1. One of the fastest corners on the calendar. Arbolino makes contact with us, and he gets back up the inside. Am I going to send it back up the inside to turn 2? No, I wanted to, but to be honest, he didn't leave me much choice. So I'm not going to have it my own way. We have got 6 tenths back to Chantra, which is nice, but I'm not going to pull away from Arbolino like I thought I was going to be able to. So can we try and get the switch back through La Chapelle? No, we've kind of followed Arbolino, and for now, Tony retakes the lead, but we're probably going to have to take it back in the same spot. And you can see in terms of the fuel, minus 0.8 laps now, so 0.6 worse than it was this point on the previous lap. Although I am trying to manage it, I'm trying to use power 2 through some of the corners, just 3 on the straight to try and make that advantage, because the AI, they'll be using it later, and they will have a massive advantage when they do if I don't do it now. Well, I said they're using it later. They're probably using it a little bit now. They are quicker than the player on the straight, I think, when you're using the same fuel load. But again, here we go. Past Arbolino, turn the engine back down once again. Then now we've overtaken him. And back up into the lead we go. Although I've ran a little bit wide through the Shimano buff, which is not exactly what you want to do. But try and get the run out of there. Okay, we've got almost 3 tenths back to Arbolino now. So if we could do a good last few corners, use a bit of Power Mode 3 out the last corner. Because Arbolino seems exceptional out of there, even compared to the rest of the AI. And try and maintain the lead this time. And then this time, actually try and make the break. Because that's pretty much the best way for us to win. Or at least try and maintain the lead. We just can't get stuck in the pack. Because that's what happened in Jerez. And obviously we got rammed out the way several times in that race. Which completely ruined the race, effectively. We got knocked off in the end because of it. But this time, we've maintained the lead. So let's see what we can do on this first lap with fresh air. So there we are then, up towards the line. 1 minute 35.0 on that lap. We've put 2 seconds into Arbolino. That's ridiculous. And to be honest, I didn't use that much Power Mode 3 on that lap. I thought I was going to get another track limits warning then for that. I should have done, because I touched the green. Yeah, I was quite surprised by that. They seem a lot slower in the race than they did in qualifying, which I guess is realistic. Obviously, you don't do the qualifying times of the race, but in these games, you can do your qualifying time in the race. So that's the thing. Well, to be fair, I'm still a few tenths off my qualifying time. You know what I mean? I'm not that far off, whereas they're several seconds off of theirs. Because you can see we've now extended the gap to, well, it nearly got to 3 seconds there. It's 2.9 very briefly. Now, it's worth noting, I do have a pretty big advantage over them in Sector 1 anyway. Just anyway, even in qualifying, it's the case. I was red through that sector, through the chicane. They just don't take it very optimally. So you can actually, when you have clean air, you're a lot quicker. When you're behind them, it's a different story because you have to kind of follow them a little bit. But yeah, we've got the gap to 3 seconds now. So I hope this is not just a checkout race because that would be a bit boring. But I kind of wanted to put a bit of a gap in case they come back later. So I guess we'll see. I do apologise to talk about the fuel and using the fuel so much as well, but in qualifying, it made such a difference. And obviously in Jerez, it was such a sort of a talking point because they were so fast. They were several seconds faster at the end of the race than they were at the start. So it kind of does. That's why I want to build out a gap because they're like 2 seconds a lap quicker at the end. Then I need like 2 seconds a lap on them, kind of thing. So we're just over halfway through the race now, and Pedro Acosta has just taken second position. So he slowly worked his way through. I think he got knocked down to about 5th place at one point. And I noticed it sort of on the last lap that he got up to 3rd. He's now up to 2nd. And I'm thinking that maybe he could be the AI that's sort of coming at us. But the problem is we're 6 seconds in the lead. And I'm not even going to play the power mode anymore. Because I've basically been in power mode 2 more of the race than I've been in power mode 3 now. You can see that from lap 4 onwards. I swapped to power mode 2. And I've still been pulling about a second a lap on them. Ignore the fact I've just probably lost a load of time through Museum. Because I was looking at the lap times to tell you which lap it was. But I think we're... Oh, the rear tyres had to go off a bit there. That was a bit of a moment. We'll see. We'll see what Acosta's pace is like. Because obviously I'll see if he doesn't do a fastest lap. If he starts going sub 35, then I'll drop my pace to try and be in the 35s at the least again. I don't think I'll be able to do 34's race pace, quite honestly. Obviously, I was probably the closest I was going to get was on that lap before there, where I did the 35.0. But the tyres will be too far gone. Although, I think it is getting sunnier as the race goes on as well. Because I think it was supposed to be still slightly cloudy as the race started. But it seemed pretty clear to me, to be quite honest. Yeah, I think this lap here is going to be 37. So, that's a pretty big drop-off. You can see Acosta is catching. So, I perhaps do need to pick up the pace a little bit. Yeah, they took over a second out of me in that last lap. 36.9. What did Acosta do? Not a new fastest lap, but I think it was more the fact that I went too slow. They're probably using power 3 a little bit now, maybe. I'm not too sure. We'll see. I'll keep an eye on the gap. We've got, what, 5 laps to go, so there's still enough time for it to catch me. So I do need to keep an eye on the gap. So I've sort of stabilised the gap on this lap, and you can see Arbolino has also retaken second place. I don't think it's Acosta on a charge that's going to catch us. So I think, to be honest, just keep the pace relatively good to the end, and I think we've got this one now. So unfortunately, it wasn't the most action-packed race. Well, it hasn't been so far. It could be again at the end, like I say, but yeah, I was hoping for a bit more of an interesting race. I kind of thought they would have a bit more pace than they've got, if that makes any sense. They've been a lot slower in the race I expected, because they've been... Well, they did 33s in qualifying, so they're at least 3 seconds a lap off their qualifying pace, because they've been in the 36s pretty much the entire race, from what I could tell. So it just doesn't make any sense, because there's no MotoGP race where they're 3 seconds off to qualifying, unless it's wet. Okay, so I think I should be slightly concerned now, because the gap was at 1.6 seconds. It's now 2.4, so I think I'm going to push on this lap. I'm going to see if we can respond with a little bit of power mode 3, just to keep that gap stable before the final lap. Okay, so it's going to be back into the 35, so we did pull away from them a bit on that lap, so it should be good. 3 seconds starting the last lap. I haven't really got any more power mode 3 to use. You can see 0.4 of a lap in reserve, so not a lot at all actually to turn the fuel down. I think I could have gone for fastest lap maybe if that wasn't the case. I kind of was hoping that I'd be able to go for the fastest lap attempt on the final lap, but yeah, it's kind of gone. I mean, I've still got the fastest lap, but I imagine the AI will beat it on the simulated times anyway. Someone like Alistair Screech will probably set the fastest lap or something. But I'm really surprised how this race played out. I was expecting a lot more competition from them. It seems like they are in the 35s now, which is obviously better, but they're still nowhere near. They were doing 33s again, like in qualifying, whereas when I was pushing, I could do a 35, so I was within a second, or just over a second off my qualifying time. But they were getting off 3 seconds off on most laps, which is difficult to sort of race against, if that makes sense. It just shows the inconsistency of the AI, really, doesn't it? I mean, I have just noticed that the gap has dropped alarmingly. It's now under 2 seconds. So I think this does kind of show that, again, on the last couple of laps, they pick up the pace. So it's a good thing that I did respond on the previous lap. And tell you what, I might be quiet, because I've just made a bit of a mistake there. 1.5, 1.3. So if I'm too slow, it'll get under a second. And you know what the AI are like? They love a good old dive bomb. 1.1. Yeah, they are absolutely coming. So I say, on the last lap, their time's ridiculous. Although I'm 2.3 off, so actually I'm cruising around. I'm absolutely crawling. So that's probably why, because I was like 3 tenths off on the previous lap. But here we go then. On towards the line, we've got a second race win of the season and a big comeback in the championship. Well, I really did need that result, to be honest, because after the last round at Jerez, it was looking pretty dire. A much closer result than it should have been, 8 tenths of a second. Bear in mind, I was 6 seconds out front, so I was absolutely right to do what I did. I was 100% correct, because if I had not played with the AI, but perhaps just kept my fuel in check and just kept the gap about a second, 2 seconds, I'd have just got absolutely destroyed. They'd have caught me and just rammed me out the way, because even if I turned the power mode back up, I wouldn't have been able to respond, because on that penultimate lap I tried to push, I did get a good lap time, but the tyre was clearly had it. Like, it was past its best, especially on the right-hand side. So, yeah, I think that's why it was crucial to push in the early stages. And to be honest, a 16th place to a win, you can't really complain about. You can't really say I didn't deserve it. It was just the fuel. So, Zonta van der Gerberg got the fastest lap, 34.4. If only they really did that on track. Obviously, they absolutely didn't do that at all. You can see a lot of 34s at the back. If they're in the 34s the whole race, I'd have been in a mess, because I only did 35s. I never even did a 34. So, yeah, it just shows, again, that AI, compared to qualifying, are absolutely nowhere. But looking at the championship standings then, Pedro Acosta actually finally takes the lead of the championship. A couple of good races then have put him up into the lead, because he had a pretty patchy period before that. Obviously, he didn't really score that well in Portimao. Argentina was an average thing, like sort of 5th place. Texas wasn't a great result either, but a win at Jerez and a 2nd place, or yeah, it must have been a 2nd place. He must have beat Arbolino to move ahead of him. So as I put him into the lead of the championship, 20 points I am behind him. So not ideal, but again, nothing too bad, especially at this point of the season. There's plenty of time to come back, and you can see I've moved up 6 places in the championship as well. Just shows how close the championship is. I'm only 2 points as well behind Lopez, so we could be back into the top 3 if we have a good round in the next one. As for the Teams Championship then, we actually move up to 7th there. Mark VDS continue to lead, but Red Bull KTM IO just closing that gap slowly but surely. Only 5 points in it now, so I imagine there will be a change at some point. But there we go then, that is the French Grand Prix. Not the most enthralling race, it must be said, and again I do apologise, although it did get tasty at the end. They were closing up on me a bit more than I'd have actually liked, to be quite honest, but there you go, we did manage to hold on in the end, so we'll head back to the Career Hub now, have a look at the social media, and end off the episode. So it only actually took one good weekend there to get us up to remarkable. 10,000 reputation just for finishing in the top 15 is pretty remarkable in itself, but there you go, we'd had a couple of bad weekends and it sort of pushed me away from that, and I thought we'd have to have a good couple of ones to get back through, but we actually have got into remarkable there by just having one good weekend, so I think that does guarantee us a MotoGP ride now for next season, if I'm not mistaken, which is lovely. As long as we stay in there, I think we'll have enough to get up to MotoGP, because I believe it is based on your reputation. And of course, we've not got another turning point, since the other one is still ongoing, but we have got one message on the social media from Sam Lowe's. It wasn't one of the best weekends. In fact, we finished behind Biker. We certainly want to do better, and we'll try to make up for it at Mugello. Okay, so what can we say to him then? I haven't had an easy time, but this was the result I was hoping for with this team. Now we need to look forward to the future. And ending a race ahead of a direct rival is always a good feeling. At the end of the day, the team and I always want to be in front, and we know we have the better bike. Well, quite frankly, we have the same bike, so that's not really true. But we'll be nice to him. will be cordial to Sam Lowes. I did wonder why he was targeting me, but I think we've just overtaken him in the championship. Yeah, he's behind me in the championship, so that would be why. So the game's like, oh, Sam Lowes must be his rival, even though I've basically not seen him at all season. He's pretty much there on the back of one good result of Portimao. Effectively, it's the only reason why he's up there in the championship, but there you go, I suppose. But that was the French Grand Prix. I do apologise again that it wasn't the most enjoyable race, potentially. Maybe you like seeing me pull away out front, and obviously you did see it close up at the end, and perhaps you liked the sort of the sway with the AI. It's a bit annoying when they're doing 33s in qualifying. I don't change AI difficulty or anything between qualifying and the race. I think the only times I've ever done that is when the qualifying's been dry and the race has been wet, just to balance it a little bit. Most of the time I don't even get to do that though, because usually it's a flag to flag or whatever. But yeah, when it's a fully dry, normal weekend, no AI difficulties get changed unless I was too fast or I was ridiculously off the pace, but I wasn't that far off. I was within touching distance. I knew we could fight further at the front. I knew they'd be slightly slower in the race than in qualifying, but I thought they would be in the 34s the entire race at least, which would have obviously been unattainable for me pretty much, or be on the limit everywhere, but it just didn't play out like that at all. They were lapping around 2 seconds, 3 seconds off their qualifying pace, up until right at the end when they gained up on me, to be fair, but not a lot you could do when the AI are inconsistent. But it does make the championship fight that little bit better. 20 points now off of the lead. Obviously we gained those 5 points back on Pedro Acosta, obviously 9 points back on Arbolino, so it does close things up quite a bit. And if we have a good round at Mugello, which is questionable because Mugello is not a good drop for me, we could get back up into the top 3 in the championship. But hopefully you guys did enjoy that one. If you're new to the channel, please do like the video and subscribe. It really does help me out. And of course, you get more bike game racing content in your subscription feed. So it is a win-win for both of us. But I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you're all staying safe. And I shall see you in the next one.